handout in
Yep.
the...
So it will be, yes. So
Okay.
good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here for Find Your Next Job with the B.R.I.D.G.E method. This is led by Dawn Quesnel, CPCC of CoachDQ.com. That's her URL, her website address, www.coachdq.com. Dawn specializes in job search, job changes, raises, and promotions. She's an award-winning career coach and recruiter and a professionally certified career coach. As a former executive recruiter and radio show host, she has produced and hosted more than 175 radio shows and has conducted more than 4,000 interviews. She's a frequent MC for educational career days and job search facilitator. And I will let Dawn speak about the B.R.I.D.G.E method rather than repeat her material. But I will say, as Dawn was alluding to, hopefully all of you, or most of you anyway, got the email I sent out a couple of hours ago with the worksheet. But in case you didn't, I will put it in the chat right now. And then, as I said, I will also be emailing you all these slides, this recording, and information about some of the other upcoming webinars. All right, so with that, Dawn, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. Hello, and welcome to my home office. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see some familiar faces and names. I appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself and talk about your target titles and target companies. I'm more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn and happy to network with you. As you probably know, 85% of all jobs filled are filled through networking and 20% through jobs. I've been in private practice. We'll just go through. Why isn't it working? Next. Hold on one second. Okay. How is that? So hopefully you can see that. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah, we can, Dawn. And the,
okay, great.
The worksheet is now in the chat, by the way, everyone.
Okay, great. So I've been in private practice for 20 years. I'm not sure what's going on here. I specialize in job change, raises, and promotions. As Robert mentioned, I've been an award-winning career coach and former recruiter. I'm currently taking my master's degree in organizational development. Over COVID, I got certified in predictive index, which is a great, awesome tool for slash behavioral assessment. My daughter is 14 years old. That's really fun. And I have 2 cats, Itchy and Scratchy. So what is the B.R.I.D.G.E method? Basically, I want to share with you, it's a dynamic process that will help you with your job search, with the goal of helping you to become land a job 50% faster. So for every $10,000 you want to make equals about 1 month in your job search, especially if you're not clear. So becoming clear, if you refer to the worksheets, one of the things to look at is I have a drop-down menu. We're becoming clear on what's most important to you. So I say this, when you're in your job search, you want to be calm. So again, referring to the worksheet, if you rank calm, which means challenge, advancement, location, and money, as far as what is your #1 priority? Why are you looking to leave? Are you looking for more of a challenge, advancement, location, money? Take a minute to just rank those 1 through 4 as far as your priority. 1 obviously being most important, 4 least important. Does everyone have the worksheet in front of them?
So sometimes if you're on a particular device, and I think it might be the iPhone, sometimes for whatever reason, handouts don't show up in the chat. So if that's the case for anyone, I did email this handout to everyone who registered an hour or two ago. So check your email if you can't see it in the chat.
Okay. So yeah, it's simple. What's the motivating factor for you? Number one, challenge, advancement, location, money. Also, what you can do is go back to that once you rank those 1 to 4, like the priority, and get a little bit more clear on what does a challenge look like? What does advancement look like? How far are you willing to commute? How much money, minimum or maximum? You also want to become clear on the titles that you're searching for, which is another reason why I wanted to ask you to present yourself and let me know what titles, and becoming clear on your target companies. So the titles, the problems you want to solve, and being specific, as you may have heard, there are riches in the niches. And don't be afraid of that, because it doesn't mean you're going to be ruled out for other positions. But if you're more specific, like I specialize in job changes, raises, and promotions, doesn't mean I don't work with people who are starting their own businesses. Because of my background, I've worked with tons of people who want to become a coach, and they were a former recruiter, whatever it is. So it's important to do that. And also people remember that, which I'll touch on a little bit later. It's important to become clear also on what are your must-haves, your deal breakers, and where you're flexible. So you're not sort of willy-nilly all over the place. That being said, you're not going to be sharing your must-haves, deal breakers, and where you're flexible with potential companies or potential prospects, unless they're, say, a friend or something like that. But that's important. But knowing where you want to be flexible, and like I said, there's riches in the niches, and when you're specific and concise, people will remember that. And then let's see. Oh, and rather than being a buffet of services and skills that you offer, it can be pretty overwhelming for people. I remember, again, I've been coaching for 20 years. When I first started, I did this and that, and I offer this and that, and it was just way too overwhelming. So keep it concise, clear, and giving those specific companies also help people to remember. Like, oh, I'm thinking of that. Yeah. Oh, she needs an introduction, or he needs an introduction to that type of company. Becoming clear helps you with the research, which is the R. And this, again, it's not necessarily a linear process. It's more of a dynamic process. So you want to research to identify those target companies. Identify, again, referring to the worksheet. Let's talk about what are some of the tools that you're using. Popular tools, of course, are LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed. Anybody else want to pop in and share other resources? Salary.com. If you want to unmute yourself and just pop in and share other tools that you found were helpful in doing research. Anyone there?
I've used DICE for tech jobs.
Yep. DICE is another good one. Thank you for that. Anyone else? I don't really use Monster that much anymore. Anybody else share with that?
ONET.
ONET, okay. ONET is good as in that it has also resources to help you identify different professions, especially if you're in a career change. And I would encourage you to, share additional tools, either in the chat or, in whatever other groups you have online to support each other. The tools are really important. So one of the other things that I want to share with you as far as research, what I found to be extremely helpful is that you all shared a title that you're targeting, or most of you shared a title that you're targeting. So I found it to be most helpful to do a reverse search and doing a people search on LinkedIn with that title. So what that means is you go into LinkedIn, I'm on the phone. No. You go into daughter's home from school. You go into LinkedIn and you just, let's say you're looking for, what did we talk about? Software Q&A. And let's say, and you could even do the filter CVS on people. And the things that you want to look for are what are, obviously their titles, because sometimes titles are modified. The skills, any keywords, any gaps that you may have, as well as the groups. And then also the other target companies or the other companies, like, okay, I went from CVS to another type of company. So I think that is very useful. And also, as you're doing this research, it's important, and I'd be happy to send anyone the research worksheet I have. It's just a simple table. And I created it because while you're on LinkedIn, you're maximizing your time, you're collecting the data, and you're looking at the gaps, again, the skills, the titles, etc. And the other reason why this is important is because you spend tireless hours doing your resume over and over and over again to go to target it to a specific job. Well, when you do the research in advance, you basically, when I work with clients, we kind of spend the first few weeks deciding which areas to target in this research and becoming clear. And aligning, let's say, 3 resumes that are targeted to, 3 different titles. That way, you don't have to spend so much time applying to jobs and retweaking your resume. So that's another reason why I created the bridge. Did I just lose my page? No. Okay. Next, so that's research. Any questions? I can't see the chat. Why can't I see the chat? If there are any questions, Flex Professionals, thank you. That's another great resource, especially for those job quests from Mass Hire. Excellent. Glassdoor, as we said, ONET, ZipRecruiter, Career One Step. I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to look into that. Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you for sharing so much. So next is identify. And as you look at the research or look at the worksheet, the handout, as we discussed, the target companies, it helps people to kind of, like I said, remember these target companies. And you also, though, want to identify your not only your target companies, but your unique attributes. You want to identify the specific skills, like I said, or skills gaps that you may have. You want to identify and specific groups who you want to build relationships with. So for example, any one person, as you probably heard of this before, has at least 250 contacts. When scheduling sort of a get to know you call or a networking call, it's helpful and more productive to look at their contacts, put together a few people because you already did the research and identified your companies, and say, hey, I see you know so and so at X, Y, and Z and company. How well do you know them? Would you be willing to make an introduction? And then you put together a specific email that basically is a follow-up that thanks them. Then you write the email for them that they're going to pass along to their networking contacts. And that way, all they have to do is just forward it. So it makes it really, really simple. Let's just see if other things I want to share with identify. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Networking. Oh, couple other things. No, that's more on develop. So the next piece is okay, develop. And again, like I said, this is ongoing, it's dynamic. So develop. You want to, as you refer to the worksheet, you want to develop, most importantly, your case studies. You've probably heard these before. They're your stars, they're your PARs. What other acronyms have you heard? Anybody want to pop in and share other acronyms that they've heard or were processes for helping you to prepare what I call your case studies? Just only mute yourself and just pop in. So if you're not familiar with stars or PARs, basically you're putting together your accolades, like I said, your case studies. STAR stands for situation, task, and there's various variations. Action that you took, the results, and then a synopsis that tells them, what you just told them, but also why you're the best person for the role. And that's where I find most people sort of, I don't know if I want to say fail, but don't take the extra step to develop their own case studies and talking points. They're really talking points. And these could be through networking, again, back to becoming clear, what are the problems that you want to solve? And, what are the things that are your most unique attributes? What separates you from other candidates? You also need to develop sort of your spiel or your pitch, or basically you're, responding to, tell me about yourself. That's the question that many people stumble on. I typically say with clients, when they ask you to tell me about yourself, I'll say, is there something particular, if for an interview conversation, obviously, if there's something in particular within my resume that, if there's something in particular within my resume that stuck out to you, or that caught your attention, so to speak, or great, I'd love to tell you about myself. Where would you like me to start? Simple things like that. Let's see. So Also, thinking about developing, so as you look again on the worksheet, it talks about developing your resume, developing your cover letters, developing your networking kit, developing relationships, which is also very critical. And I've worked with many people over the years. In fact, there was this one project I did. It was a midlife male makeover, and this PR agency that I worked with took this one male in his mid 50s and their clients and gave him like Botox and a suit, and we taught him. I actually brought in one of my at the time I was doing radio, one of my radio show regulars to do exercise. She was a fitness person. I helped obviously with career coaching. He was very hesitant at the time because he hasn't been in touch, and I'm sure you could identify that with that, hasn't been in touch with some of his network and was hesitant about that, didn't feel comfortable about that, wasn't up to speed on social media. Long story short, now today he's better on Twitter than me. So I think that's it's important. I find a lot of people either they're laid off or there's a hindrance in their career because they're not up to date with technology. So that's really important. Back to developing your talking points. Developing, the whole part is to also develop your game plan, which we'll get to in just a moment. But having that, what I call focus time, free time, and admin time. And, whether so if you're in a job search full time and you're not currently working, you should be about 40 hours per week. And we'll go into that as I talk about the game plan, working on your various things. And I will give you some specific activities to do as well. But, that's your full-time job right now. If you're obviously currently working and maybe going through a career change, depending on your lifestyle and how your sense of urgency, you want to develop your game plan or develop your time frame, so that at least you're plugging away at it. And developing your networking strategy. Also, I wanted to go back just to kind of talk about, focus time, free time, and admin time. With that being said, you don't want to spend all of your time. All right, let me go through this. The next is game plan and execute, evaluate the game plan. As we talked about, become clear. We just did the exercise, be confident about who you are, what you have to offer. Having a specific, as we talked about, rewinding a little bit. You notice in this slide, we're looking at, I'm looking for a project manager position, kind of vague. As you look at the third example, it's a little bit more specific. So you want to have that. As we talked about earlier, researching in keywords, titles, groups, associations. Don't forget about your alumni, skills gaps, etc. A great resource, even if you're not on Twitter, to do search.twitter.com. And you can also, look at other hashtags. Also, I found to be very helpful is job scan. So you have raise your hand if you have used this. It's a great free tool in which you scan the job description as well as your resume, and it gives you that feedback based upon how in alignment you are with that job. Excuse me. Hoovers.com I use. So for those people who have specific companies, let's say like CVS Health, like Santa Fe, oil and gas, higher ed, whatever it is, you go and put that specific company into Hoover's, and then they'll give you for free like 3 competitors, and you can kind of drill down and come up with other target companies. That's the other point of researching and on LinkedIn and doing the reverse people search. Glassdoor, everybody uses, we know. I think that's important and helpful to help with identifying the culture and getting feedback, etc. Identifying, as you talked about, identifying target companies. Again, back to the research, as you're looking through, you're looking at the groups. You also want to see what now's the perfect time to be networking because of holiday parties, etc. In fact, I got a part of the Boston recruiters group, and I received email from another colleague, that posted, also a career coach, an author, and he talked about, and it was so validating, how December and August were his best months as a recruiter. December and August have been the best months. Go figure. Why? Because it's the end of the year. People are their budgets. If they don't fill that position, they're not going to get that budget. So keep that in mind. Just because the holidays are, in full gear, doesn't mean that people aren't hiring. I'm sure you've heard, and you will hear in this series, that many coaches and job search experts recommend having informational interviews. Don't rule out your alumni and also key centers of influence. So what do I mean by that? That means that it would be someone who would be a peer, someone who is working with the same type of clients, but isn't even direct, or even somebody who's going after the same title as you. So that is some important things to identify. Okay, that's all for that. Develop, as I talked about specifically before, you need to develop your case studies. These are really important. Again, these can turn into talking points. As you're speaking with people, you can give a specific example, and that would typically have sort of, again, the PARS or STARS format, 1 or 2 sentences of the problem, 1 or 2 sentences of the action that you took, 1 or 2 sentences of the results. Developing your brand online. But wait, before I do that, there was another note that I had. We'll get to that. So I have, let's say, a client that really posts inappropriate things on Facebook. That's going to have an impact on your job search. Absolutely. Especially the things you say. So it's important for you to Google your name. It's important for you to look at your social media posts and look at anything that may be a red flag, because that's what recruiters and HR does before they're going to consider hiring you. Absolutely. And as a former recruiter, I've done it. And again, it sticks out. So be careful what you say online. All right, a couple other things that I wanted to say. About developing, as you look at the worksheet, developing those relationships. So long story short, one of my clients I worked with, she was in real estate for about 8 years. Prior to that, she was in technology. You probably know how quickly technology changes. So long story short, she boned up on her technology. And the thing that helped her land a new role was her networking and giving back. I don't know if you ever heard of the term giver's gain, but when you start to help other people to connect with them, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So for every $10,000 you want to make equals about 1 month in your job search, especially if you're not clear. This woman ended up landing a job in 4 months because of, you know, her ability to give back and to network. So again, 80% of all jobs filled are filled through networking, and 20% through online ads. But that being said, you don't stop doing online, you don't stop applying. But at the same time, you don't want to be spending, if you're spending most of the time in your job search behind the computer, you're missing out, because a lot of times it goes to the black hole, especially if you haven't done your research and your resume isn't keyword compliant, so to speak. So important to look at your game plan and to give back to people. So with that being said, here is a sample game plan. I want you to take a minute just to look at some of these activities. They're general activities. You may, I leave a few open spaces for clients and job seekers to add in some of their other success practices. Again, back to the development. What are your success habits? It's going to be exercise. It's going to be, really a job search is one part mindset, one part strategy, one part numbers, right? And following up. So I think it's important for you to consider that. So this is just a sample of what you can do if you're 100% unemployed right now. So if you're not, if you're currently employed, then you may want to modify that, pick 5 hours, pick 10 hours, start somewhere. And these are some things that are important for you to do. The other thing is, as you've done the research and you've identified your target companies, right? Then you can set up Google alerts for those specific target companies, which helps you to, sorry, people keep coming in, which helps you to get information about those target companies and helps you to build relationships, so that when you get that article, then you can send it to a potential employer, or ideally the hiring manager, make an intelligent comment about that article. And you do like what I call a drip campaign. For those of you, I don't think we don't have anyone in marketing, but for those of you who are in marketing, even you don't have to be in marketing. That you get drip campaigns, whether it's direct mail or email, etc. So that is the game plan. And then basically you're executing and evaluating the game plan. And what works. Tracking your results. Again, as you go back to here, you're tracking your results. Over the years, I've had many clients, take this, and I have elaborate Excel spreadsheets that they've created as far as like, what is potential opportunity? Who are my contacts? What groups, etc. So, excuse me, I've always said, take what you like, leave what you don't, just let me know. And so I could be a better resource to you. Also, I want to let you know the bridge method has been published. It's been on TV, etc. And on my website, coachdq.com, I have a free e-course that you can sign up for. Again, looking at evaluating as you start to, let's say you're in a career change, have informational interviews, excuse me, or informational conversations, you may decide, well, that's not a route I want to go. So then you're sort of going back through the process of the bridge. And that's another reason why I talked about it being dynamic and looking at, okay, well, I want this, I want that. And you're narrowing it down to, let's say, 3 target areas that you want to go after. And I do a lot of interview prep. That's my favorite, as well as negotiating. Part of the research is, you know, are you up to date with skills as you're looking at keywords? In addition, I found many people, their attitude and how they're showing up, whether it's, and I've worked with business owners too, same thing, when they're awkwardly or expecting you as a client to give a referral, it's kind of a turnoff. So when you ask someone if they're hiring, sometimes that can be kind of a turnoff. Again, some folks are anti-handwritten notes, but I find the extra mile can go a long way. And then obviously go back and revisit any places that you feel aren't clear on your resume. Here's just a quick overview of, you know, the 8 roadblocks to success. I found over the years that many clients have gone to one job to the next job, and they have the same type of boss and the same type of culture, and they didn't even realize they're back in the same problem. So that's one of the things that I feel is my unique differentiator. I help obviously with some of these other areas, as you can see. Just looking at why it's important to kind of remove those roadblocks. It all comes back to mindsets and helps you to increase your confidence. Like I said, Bridge is been around for a long, long time. And I have been tracking so that I found, so some of the clients that I have, I work with a range of clients and salary, but like I said, for every $10,000 you want to make equals 1 month in your job search. So most recently I've been working with a couple of folks in the 6 figures, and they've been able to land jobs in 4 months. And it's really all about creating the momentum. So that's me, DQ. If there's anything, any questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Dawn. A wonderful job as expected. And so folks,
Thank you.
We still have a few minutes, and we can certainly go over 3 o'clock if we have to. Let me see here. So if you have any questions, either type them into the chat, or you can unmute and ask your question via audio or video.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I have.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, sorry. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently had an interview, and who should I write the letter to? Thanking them. Interview.
Who did you interview with?
I interviewed with the ARC of Greater Haverhill.
Okay. So I would send the thank you to the people that you met with.
All right, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Teresa says, thank you. This was very helpful. I've never heard of this method before.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris says that Chris had to leave early for a 3 p.m. call, but says, thanks for organizing this. It was very helpful. Kyle says, excellent, thank you. I might look into this. Cindy asks, and this was a good solid 20 minutes ago, so I've lost the context, but Cindy asks, what did you say we should look for on LinkedIn?
So you're looking for the titles. Let's say, so some people are looking for QA. Some people are looking for executive assistant. Some people are looking for account manager. Some people oil and gas. So you need to look at those specific titles. So when you go into LinkedIn and you click on people, you can also click on all filters and then search to specific title, search to specific company, search location, et cetera, et cetera. So start broad and then work your way down.
Oh,
Go
so
ahead.
are you saying to reach out to a hiring manager, or are you talking about just looking for a position for myself? Because I know how to find the positions for myself.
No, I'm talking about in the research, you're looking at people and their titles to identify target companies, keywords, skill gaps, groups, etc. And that research helps you to better align your resume to the jobs that you're targeting.
Oh, I see. So you're just talking about how to fix edit your resume.
Yeah, not only that, but you're also developing a list of target companies. You're looking at different titles. And you're doing this so that you don't have to keep reinventing your resume every time you apply to a job. And you're doing the
Oh.
research to kind of get the lay of the landscape to see if there are any skill gaps.
Okay.
So it's multi-purpose.
Okay.
And I would recommend, like I said, I have a free e-course.
Okay.
And it kind of goes over step by step. You get once a week, just an email with an exercise that you can do.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I'll look that up. Is it
CoachDQ.com.
CoachDQ.com? All right. Thank you.
Sure. And I also wanted to say, for anyone who's interested in networking or having a conversation or even an informal coaching session, I offer a complimentary coaching session.
So Connie in the chat asks, is Hoover's from D&B, which I think is done in Bradstreet, and it is Connie. And Connie, if you get a free Boston Public Library e-card, you'll have access to Hoover's through the BPL website.
Right.
Let's see here. Prativa says, thank you so much. It was very helpful. Ellen says, thank you very much. Excellent job, Dawn. Nicole says, thank you so much. This really helped me a lot. Jody says, thank you. Good information. And Jolie says, thank you. Cindy says, thank you. Ellen says, can you please confirm the website for the free course? CoachDQ.com. So not CouchDQ, Ellen, but CoachDQ.com. And I believe the website address is on the handout in the slides that I'll be emailing you. Anne says thank you. Carla says thank you. Reva says thank you. So Dawn, do you have any last words for the group before we wrap it up?
No, thank you. Happy holidays. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to present.
Yeah.
And again, CoachDQ.com. They call me Dairy Queen. Somebody, you remember it, right?
There you go. It is a memorable name.
Ongoing.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. Look for an email from me later today with all the material I've been talking about, the recording, the slides, the handout again, and information about next week's talk. So thank you all so much. And I
Thank
hope
you,
everyone
Robert.
enjoys the rest of the day. Yep. Thanks,
Thank
Dawn. Have a
you.
good one.
One more last thing I want to share with you. Pretty much all of the speakers you have for this month I know personally, they're all great, except for 2 I don't know, but other than that, you guys are in good hands.
There you go. Appreciate the
All right,
plug,
take
Dawn.
care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.